it's Robert here, and tonight I am going to alter this shirt that I'm wearing. I bought this a while ago, and every time I wear it, I feel like I'm a big box. So it's just a little oversized. Of course, the last time I wore it, I had less of a tummy. Hopefully that's just like holiday stuff, and once it gets warmer, I can get rid of this, but I still feel kind of that this shirt is too big, and this is actually just kind of a shirt I wear for school or to work, which is school. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some darts, but I'm going to add them to the back. So you can kind of see how this is just kind of square. It has a little bit of shape. I know where the waist is, but I don't really want to go through the side, because if you go all the way through the side and the sleeve, sometimes you start losing the curve in the armhole if you go too far. And they actually have like, I'll show you close up when I take this off, but it's like a flat feld or a caballo stitch machine or a saddle stitch where it actually rolls the fabric and then does a double stitch. So I don't really want to open that if I don't have to. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do about the sleeves. They might be okay once I get the darts in the back. I'm going to start with the darts in the back. If that doesn't help a lot, then I'll put darts here in the front, just starting just about under the pocket. So I'm going to walk you through that process. Unfortunately, I won't really be able to give you like close-ups because I'm working with a new camera system. I've had these cameras for a while, so I'm going to be switching out cameras between, this is my Mac, and then I have a camera for the table, and I'll show you what that looks like if I can get it started here. Okay, so this is the table, and yes, I have my beer here with my Sew It Like a Man koozie. It's a little dirty, I need to wash it, but maybe I can start sending those when I send some of the swimwear from Franken Lace. I just started that shop, and I'll talk about that a little bit too. So this is the table view, and then I have a view for my machine when I sew, which is here. So you'll have this view. The camera, I'm still trying out this camera. They're autofocus, and I can't change that. So hopefully everything is in focus, and you can kind of see what I'm doing. And then when I come back to talk to you, I will be back here on the Mac, and hopefully everything works out okay. I know the lighting isn't that great, but I only have one of my big lights set up for the table. Everything else is just regular lighting that I have in the room, because I really didn't want to drag everything out for this, because this is my first time kind of doing this on a Friday night. I figure I try to do my Friday night sews and then get them posted up on Saturday, and we'll see how this goes. This is me trying not to be lazy on a Friday, and hopefully giving you a little bit more content that you would like to see. So I'm going to try to add a little shape to this while taking away some of the bulk. So let me get out of this shirt, and I'll show you what this looks like. Okay, so I'm back, and I'll show you really quickly these side seams. Maybe you can see them. I don't want to drag the... So you can kind of see this is, it looks like a flat feld, but it's really done with a machine that rolls the both sides of the fabric in. It's right here. Can you see that? Okay, so it's a double stitch, so I didn't really want to open that and have to deal with all of that mess. But you can see, if I hold this from the underarm to the hem, there is a very slight curve there, which this would be about the hem. But I need to go from the inside, so I'm going to turn this inside out, and I think I'm going to go to the table view now. I can click the right thing. Okay, so we're on the table view, and let me just go ahead and lay this out. Okay, so here's the shirt, and I know this print is hard, but I like the print. This is like a double weave. It has a slight sponge to it, which I kind of like, especially in the summers here in Virginia. It's nice and light and breezy, but still has like a weight to it. So green's my favorite color, so that's why I like this shirt. Okay, so this is the actual shirt, and I'm going to actually mark the inside. I want to mark the waist first. So the way I like to do this, turn it inside out. And here I'm gonna like fold the shirt in half, and I'm gonna match up. I like to match up the side seams. Here, this is the side seam here. So I'll match up this side seam here, and then I grab the point where the underarm is here, and then I'll match that side. And then what I'm gonna do is feel around. You can kind of feel where the ridge is on both of the undersides. I'm probably not being super clear, but I want to pin this side seam together kind of all the way up, and just kind of feeling with my fingers here. When I was doing alterations on the regular, I would do this a lot for a lot of people. Just taking in a lot of excess, especially on the back. Sometimes the back of men's shirts have the big box pleat just under the yoke, which adds to a lot of fullness. So what we would do instead of taking that box pleat out is that we would just add a couple of darts in the back. If you take the box pleat out, then you're left with putting a center seam in to get rid of that. You could take the whole thing off and then the side seam and then recut the armhole, but that's a lot more money than really one needs to spend, especially if you're going to be wearing a suit coat or jacket or a blazer or a jacket over it. Okay, so I've got my side seam here, and now what I'm going to do is just kind of like look at the halfway point between the hem and the underarm, and I'll kind of go under here with my finger and mark that. And is that a good point for my waist? It probably is about the midpoint between the hem and the underarm. So I'm just going to mark that. And a lot of this times I just do this by eye. I can kind of see the halfway point, and I'm going to use that for my waist. And that's important because at the waist is where the largest part of your dart is going to be. So now what I want to do is I've got this folded in half. So this would be the center. Let me see if I can move this up a little bit so you can see. So this here now would be the center back right here, this fold. I've got it all nice and flat. Everything matches pretty well up around the shirt. I felt for the arm up here also kind of matches. Okay, so what I want to do now is, you can use a ruler or a tape measure. I'm using a tape measure. I'm going to measure, I've got 11 inches. Okay, so how big do I want to put my, I think I want to make my darts an inch. I'll go and make them an inch, and if it's too much, then I'll let them out later. But just so you can see, so we have easy measurements. So I've got 11 inches from the seam, from the crease in the seam, all the way to the fold of the center back. So what I need to do is I'm going to put the dart in the middle of these two spots. So 11 inches, I'm going to come up here 5.5 inches, and I'm going to pin that so you can see it. But I'm also going to take, this is a erasable pen, mark that spot in red. Now since I've got a pretty straight line here, I'm also going to eye from the center, and you probably can't see it because this is a see-through ruler and it's red. What I'm going to do is I'm going to eye this so it looks like it's a straight line with the pattern. Am I going to go by the pattern? I guess I'll go by the pattern. I want to make a line that is perpendicular to the side seam about where I want the dart. Okay, and then here on this mark is where I'm going to put that perpendicular line, kind of like a cross mark. Okay, let me put this. Okay, so I wish I could actually kind of zoom in. I can't zoom in with these cameras for some reason on the program that I'm using, but there's like a T mark here, and I said I wanted to do an inch. So that means that I'm going to mark on this line, this horizontal line that I have here with the vertical line, and my measure probably backwards to the camera. So this center line here is what I'm calling vertical, and this line here that I just drew perpendicular to the side and the center back is what I'm calling the horizontal. So I have this line, and on either side of the vertical, I'm going to mark a 1/2 inch. Just little marks. And of course, you could do this all with the tape measure too. Okay, so this is the largest width of my my dart. And I like to put pins on this because this will make it easier for when I flip this over to make markings for the dart on the other side. Now, how long do I make the dart? So if this is the midpoint, this is my waist, the most I'm going to take in. This is actually kind of nice that I have this geometric pattern because I can actually just guide it up. It makes it easier. So what I usually like to do, I'm going to move this down, move all my stuff out of the way, so you can see in the center here. Up here, I like to end or start about the midpoint of the armhole. You don't want to go any higher than that. In fact, some people just do it to maybe 1 inch or so above the armhole point, the armhole, bottom of the armhole. But I'm going to go all the way up here. I have this line here that is in the pattern, so I'm going to use that line as the top of my dart. I'm just going to put a line there because I can see it's in line with this mark, so this geometric pattern really kind of helps me out. So I will use the center line that I had here, the vertical and the horizontal across. That's actually the center of my dart, which I'm going to eye and draw a straight line up to that point. Now the challenge is how low do we want to go to the hem? I don't generally like to go too low. Remember, this here is generally supposed to go over your hip, and then this should cover your rear at the bottom, okay? So I'm probably going to use this point. If you go too low, you may not have enough fabric for it to lay flat. So if I go, do it here or here, I'm kind of liking this because I don't generally tuck my shirt in. So I just want to make sure there's enough fabric so it lays flat down on this point. So I'm going to use this line here as my end point. And it does look like an uneven dart where I'm sewing more up here and less here, and I have to come back quick, but that's actually pretty common. Okay, so here's my ending point right here. Now all I really need to do is kind of connect all of my dots. I'll put that pin back in. Kind of connect all of my dots. The top on either side. And then what I'm going to have to do is put these pins back in. And then I'll turn this over and I'll draw the dart on the other side. I should probably draw that one a little bit better. That's okay. Now remember, we're going to fold this in the center, so I'm actually only going to be sewing on one of these lines anyway. Okay, so let me put these pins back in. I'm going to mark where my little dots should be, where I like to do a crosshair here, so I will put a pin in going vertically, and then I'll put a pin where the dot should be going horizontally, so I know that's where the dart is going to be on the other side. And I'll do the same thing up on top. Now, this dart may be too tall. I won't know until I try. I'm not going to be super picky about this because at school I generally wear a lightweight jacket. Well, probably not as we get closer to April or after spring break in May. It'll start getting warm, but they really kind of blast the AC, so it's always cold in my room. The students are always complaining that it's too cold. Okay, so now I've got all of those points of interest marked. I'm going to flip this over carefully. And you probably can't see this on camera, but I can see these 2 points here, and then I see the crosshair here and the cross here. So I'm going to make sure this is all flat enough that it hasn't skewed. And I'm going to take my pen, going to mark here, I'm going to mark at the bottom, and then I'm going to mark here and here. Now I'd normally take the pins out because I just want to line up where the top pin is and the bottom pin is. And on this side, I don't know how straight that is, but I'm going to take my ruler here and match it. It's actually, that line is matching up at the 5.5 mark, so I'm actually pretty happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that line, even though according to the pattern it looks off. If it's really off, then I will probably take this dart out and start again on this side, but the measurements are correct. So I should probably take the pins out on the other side to draw these dart legs in, but I'm not going to really worry about it. This wasn't a super expensive shirt, so like I mentioned before, I think I got it at Target, and it was probably on the clearance rack because that's where I like to go. And a lot of that stuff I have to alter for myself anyway. I really need to start making more of my own wardrobe, and I'm hoping that I can bring some of those videos to you as I work toward making more woven patterns for you folks. Okay, so I've got that enough for me to see. I'm going to come over, I'm going to unpin. So unpin all this side stuff too. And then I will need to work on these darts. Okay. Okay, so I've got the 2 darts here. And what I need to do, let's do this one first. I'm going to pick this up, I'm going to fold it on that center dart line. Okay, I'm just going to pin this, and I should pin it on this side. It's hard for me to do that because I want you to see what I'm doing. I'm kind of pinning on my view backwards because I want to sew from the top down. So here's the point where I'm going to start. So I like to put horizontal pins in instead of pinning this way. I've got this one. That way it kind of keeps the fabric on grain, and you don't have to worry about anything getting out. Sometimes when you pin this way or that way, it kind of skews the fabric a little bit. And I may as well pin both darts before I go over to the machine and sew. So while I'm pinning this, I will just remind you that I've just opened up my physical product store under the label Frank Inlace. I should have some lace pieces up there, more lace pieces up there shortly, hopefully. Right now I just have some briefs, and this is fabric I've still had or had for a while that I've actually picked up at various stores. So some briefs, meaning underwear briefs, and then I have some jock straps and some thongs up there for you to have a look at. And then I'm hoping to get some swimwear, some brief swimwear, but I think also I'll probably do some of the box cut swimwear. Those seem to be popular. Um, I'm hoping to have that up there by March, but I need to source out and find some fun fabrics. I do like to look at Spoonflower and support the indie designers. Their fabric is so expensive, but I think I may just have to buy the bullet because some of those prints are really um, cool. Okay, so I've got everything pinned. That's a lot more pins than I normally use. But we're going to start here at the top, and I'm going to switch over to my sewing machine. Okay, and for that entire part, I didn't realize I didn't have my mic clipped to me, so if I sounded far away, that's why. Well, I've got my mic on now. So I'm at the machine, and I'm hoping you can see. I know it's kind of far away. Let me see if I can reposition this. So it's a little bit closer, but not in the way. And I'm hoping that's in focus. Looks alright. Okay. So I'm starting up here at the top, and the way I like to do my darts is I like to put the needle in right here at this fold. Some people like the backstitch. I'm not a real backstitch person on darts. You can't see this. I'm gonna have to move this, sorry, a little bit back. It's hitting my foot pedal. Put that needle right down so you're catching just one, maybe two of the yarns. And then here's my line, so I'll pivot this up. Actually, I'm gonna sew a couple of stitches, right? So I'm only catching a couple yarns or so. And then I'm gonna angle this on that line that I drew. And so, gently and carefully, and I also do have my iron set up, but I don't have a camera over there, so you'll just have to trust that I'm ironing correctly, or pressing. Okay, this is the center of my dart, so I'm going to come around and swing around and back, head down to the end of the dart. And then when I come here down to the end, I will do that same thing that I started. I will come and I will just barely grab that edge. That was probably enough. I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail because I don't know if I need to tie off or not. We'll see. So that's the dart. You can't see it because I messed with the thread pretty good. So, when in doubt, use a darker thread, I think. I'm using kind of like this, I don't know what it's called, kind of like a light sage color. Okay, top of the dart, we're going to remove this pin. Needle right down, just barely catching that fold. I'm going to stitch a couple times and then angle that dart. I mean, it doesn't really look like I'm taking out a lot, but keep in mind, each one of these darts is 1 inch. So I'm actually taking 2 inches out of the back. So, and I'm a little worried that that was too much, but we'll find out when I try to tack on. If I have to loosen it up, I will. It's a little bit easier than losing the weight, but, you know, it happens. I'm not really worrying about it that much. So, oops. Okay. So I left some tails here just in case I feel like I need to tie these. and I will do that after I press. So I'm going to go press this, and I'll be pressing them to the center, I believe. So, and I'll show you that on the table when I come back. Okay, so I'm back at the table, and this is pressed, and I actually pressed the darts away from the center. As I said, I think at the sewing machine I said toward the center, but I meant away from the center. And this is what they look like. First I pressed the darts flat, and then I pressed them away. I think I am going to tie these off just for a little security. So all I'm going to do, I know people like to do it separately. You probably can't see the thread, but I just like to twist the two strands of the thread together, just make a knot, and I leave a distance here, and then I just trim it. It's not that big a deal. I mean, I don't even have to do this if the stitches start coming out. I mean, it's not a big deal for these kind of darts, especially being that they're in the back. So just get these trimmed off, and then we'll have a look at the other side. I think they came out pretty well, but of course the truth is actually trying on, which I will do, and we'll see if I still feel like a box. But sometimes it takes a wear. I have to actually wear it all day and then find out. Okay, so those are trimmed. Let me show you what the other side looks like. So if you can see this, may or may not be able to see this, that you probably can't even see where the darts are. It's even hard for me up close. Anyway, here's the darts, and I'll run my finger right down where the darts are. Okay, so those are where the two darts are, hardly noticeable. So now the proof is actually trying it on. My computer battery is going low. I should have plugged it in, but I'm going to do that really quick. I'll turn this on, come back to me. Okay, here I am. I take my mic off. See if I can secure it here. Whoops. Let's stick it here. Let's try this on. See if it looks or feels any different. See if I need to do the front darts. Up here. I think it does look different. I don't think I have as much fullness here. Now if I want to, I could, which side, I could actually take some darts up here if I wanted it more fitted. I think I'm going to wear this once and see, but I don't think it's as boxy. It doesn't make me look as like a box, and I'll turn around so you can see the back, and the darts would be right about here. So I think it looks, right now I think I feel a lot better, but I think I'm going to actually wear it once, maybe next week or the other week, the week after. I won't wait till St. Patrick's Day, that's for sure. And I'll see how I feel. I certainly don't want it to be too tight, so I think this is actually going to do. So if I do have like 3 or 4 other shirts that I wanted to do this to. You don't need to see all of those, but if I find one that I actually need to actually do the front darts, I will actually do that for you on my Friday night sew. So again, this was Friday, and I was having a beer, and I decided I need to do some videos, and I thought I would just take you on this little sewing alterations with me. So if you have some shirts that are a little bit too boxy and you want to see if you can add just a couple of darts instead of having to deal with this pesky side seam, that's how you can do it, and hopefully you have learned something from this video. So I'm happy that I could do this for you, and thank you for watching, and as always, be well.